All right. Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with one of my legit oldest friends. I think I've known Shelby Firsten since we were, 5 years old?
I think even earlier.
Earlier, since birth. And so Shelby is an old dear friend. And about a month and a half ago, or maybe 2 months ago, I received an email from Shelby about something that she had written. And it was very vulnerable and very courageous. And everybody knows that, where I'm at in my life and the work I'm doing with Brene Brown, I really value those things. I value and really respect people who are being authentic and vulnerable and courageous in an attempt to help others. And so Shelby and I connected around that, and I heard a little bit more about her journey, and I asked her if she would want to come on and speak out about what she went through in a little bit more depth than a small article. So that's what we're here to do today. So Shelbs, you take it away. I want you to start talking about, where your journey started, and we can go from there.
Okay, thanks for having me, Jody. It's been a long journey. When I became unwell in terms of the physicality, a lot of pain all over my body after the birth of my first child, Leah.
Yeah.
She'll be 13 in February. Yeah. So 6 weeks after she was born, I tripped and something was wrong with my ankle, but I really didn't do anything. So I just kind of carried on. And then pain, I just managed, it's a long story because I have 3 children, but to fast track it all, after the birth of my third, but I guess to backtrack, I became so unwell that I had to stop working, unfortunately. So I was a dietitian in sales for Nestle, and it was too physical. So when I went off originally for short-term disability, I thought it was going to be like an ankle sprain that I had in the past when I was a kid playing sports, that I would just rest for a few months or a few weeks and I would go back. But unfortunately, it just became worse and worse. And they eventually diagnosed my feet with something called small fiber neuropathy, because my feet were changing colors and they were burning. So they figured that out, which helped understand that it wasn't in my head, all this pain. But then after the birth of my third child, who's 5, so my kids are spaced out, I became really unwell. The pain was just everywhere in my neck, my jaw, everywhere, shoulders. And a doctor who was my pain specialist saw me in a new light, and he's like, it was literally like in minutes. Like I literally was just think I was going for trying to try some new pain medicine, although I don't tolerate anything very well. And it was in minutes. He's like, you have EDS. And I'm like,
Wow.
pardon? I'm like, what's EDS? And he was so quick. And it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility. There's different types. I have the most prevalent of this rare condition, and my joints are very loose. Basically, the collagen, which is the most abundant protein in your body, is not abundant in mine, and it makes my joints very loose, and my joints go out of place, and as a result, I have very large amounts of pain that I have to manage daily. And everyone with EDS is different, like with a lot of diseases. So mine has really impacted my mobility. So I have a scooter if I need to walk more than a couple minutes. I can't walk stairs now. So it's changed over the years. It's become progressive. So that was hard for me to get that diagnosis, because they say it's a genetic condition, although they don't know the gene. So right away, they're like, yeah, 50% chance that each of your children can get it. So, that's scary because there's nothing you can do. Mine became more prevalent after around puberty.
Sorry, does anyone in your genetic history have it?
No, I was the first to be diagnosed with this condition. So it simply was just the genes that my parents gave me made who I am. So no, they can't go back. So I am the first. And there are people who have EDS who can have a normal life, but then there's other people, and majority of it can affect any organ in the body because collagen is everywhere.
Yeah.
So
how rare is EDS, Shelby? How rare is it?
It's actually not as rare as you think. It's just underdiagnosed. So this doctor who diagnosed me, well, I was then sent on to a geneticist who just officially diagnosed me with history, and they measure your flexibility in different ways. And if you score a certain score, you have it. So they're still looking for this gene, but he has gone back to his he went back into his charts and he called patients back and told them that they had it. So it is rare in terms of undiagnosis. That's why people like us are trying to advocate, but it's not, but more people have it than you think. They just don't know. They just don't know. I've had it my whole life and they only diagnosed me a few years ago.
Wow. So what could people look out for?
What can they look out? Like, you don't want to make yourself like create, but if you have a lot of joints that are going out of place and then they don't heal, that was the big thing. Like my shoulder would go out when I was a little girl playing sports and it never healed. And I had such crazy pain that was not typical of a person who had just this injury, a mild injury.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then I was diagnosed. I had my third child and it was hard. It was hard. I was in so much pain. Luckily we had the financial ability to hire a lot of help because I could breastfeed, which was great, but I couldn't even like walk holding my baby, and I make big babies. So it was difficult. So that was great that my kids were spaced apart so they could help. But it was hard. And I was just I lost my job, not by choice. I had many miscarriages along the way. And there was just a lot of grief that was happening, missing out on social events, not seeing friends, disappearing, and people not understanding why. Because I couldn't, a lot of people get together at night, as you know, and by the time at night, I'm just like wiped. And it's not even late in the night. And it was just hard. And so all these things I didn't realize till I eventually started counseling, like how much grief I had experienced, which wasn't getting processed. So I was just like, diving in, I'm going to give my kids as best as I can. I don't want to hold them back with my disability. But over time, it wears on you. And so then a few years ago, my kids are finally getting older. Like, my son's going to be in school finally full time. All my kids will be in school full time. Like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, so many things got taken away and there was so much lack of control with my illness. And growing up, as you probably know, I'm very like goal-based, oriented based. And I knew what I wanted, and it was just all like kind of taken away from me, just like that. And I spiraled. I like didn't know who I was anymore. It was really big identity loss for me. And I think a lot of other people can relate, whether they're unwell, whether they're bogged down in their work or their kids. Like, you forget who you are. And there's not like one thing that can define us. And this illness was defining me. And I didn't like it because there was so much more to just me. People would see me on my scooter and feel bad for me. My scooter now, I like learned to love it, like, because it gives me independence to get out and go places where I otherwise wouldn't be. So it's not a negative thing. In the article, which I guess some people will be able to see now, it was, I tried to take my life. I did. And it wasn't even like planned. It was just, there was so much tension and, going on in my house. And
so pause there for a sec, Shelby, so I want to backtrack.
Yeah, it's a long story, so.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. That's what we're here to talk about. Here to talk about your story. So, you said so much there, and there's so much I want to unpack. You said there was so much grief, so much miscarriage, so much loss, and you never processed it.
No. And then
why do you think you never processed it?
I definitely saw counselors over the years in spurts, but I never really found a love for a counselor till I do now. She doesn't make me feel sorry for myself, but we'll get to that. I wasn't processed because I was so focused with EDS. You get so focused on the physicality of this illness because it really takes over your body. It's draining. It's not something I'd wish upon anyone. Sometimes it's invisible. Like, you see me right now and you wouldn't know, but I get up and, walking's hard and whatnot. I have ice packs all over my body. I have an ice pack on my knee as we speak. I wear knee braces. You don't see everything all the time, but it was the physicality. So I was going to physios and different treatments. Someone said they could cure neuropathy or this. I was so focused in the medical world, but not the mental world. Some psychiatrists would see me, or I was definitely assessed, but it wasn't that bad, I guess. So nope, you're good, keep going, or just, so I've lost a lot of faith in the medical system over the years because I was finding my own way. I find my own way to be able to walk. I would get myself in the water and do light aqua fitness. I discovered Pilates. Like, I was doing it myself. No one told me to buy a scooter. My husband and I went to go get a scooter because couldn't keep up with my 2-year-old to go anywhere. So that's kind of why I wasn't, they weren't taking it seriously, how much the mental health is, because the physicality of this illness takes over you.
So all that grief that wasn't processed, then you feel, or you've learned, has led to that spiral. So what happened? How did it get to the point where you wanted to take your life?
I think the reality is I didn't really want to take my life and disappear completely. Although, I do worry how I'm going to manage all this pain for the rest of my life, because it's quite exhausting and draining. And I'm not on medication to help me with the pain because I can't tolerate anything. So I've self-managed it. But the big thing was, I felt like I was bringing my family down. Everything revolved around me. If my family had to miss out on events, it was because of me. If we couldn't go on a trip, it was because of me. And I hated that. We have more of a balance now. Like my husband will take one kid away, not right now, but before, he'll take one kid away for a little trip or a little getaway. These are the ways that we're going to have to make our life as normal as possible. But at the same time, I've seen the good in what we also like, the balance and the empathy of my kids. But the big thing for me was I just thought I didn't have a purpose. I felt like I was a drain on society, and that was not who I thought I was going to be. So it was hard. It was hard. And I was a cry for help. It really was a cry for help for my husband, and my people didn't realize how bad I was. And I didn't realize how bad I was. I didn't realize how angry I was inside.
Yeah. So what did that then lead to?
So it led to me being hospitalized. It could have been hospitalized for 3 days, but again, after 2 days, they thought I was okay. They thought I wasn't going to hurt myself, which was the main, I guess, their priority, of course. And I wasn't. It wasn't enjoyable to be in the hospital. It was very sad. I couldn't relate to a lot of the patients because I couldn't really speak. They weren't, I guess I was talking more to the staff than the patients. We couldn't leave the floor. Not like I could walk that far in the hospital anyways. They didn't think I needed medicine at the time, psychiatrist or anything. So they gave me a name of a clinic to call. We thought it was Daryl, my husband, was like, he knew there was always the mental health component that was never addressed well with me. So he was encouraged that we were going in the right direction. So we get out of the hospital, we call the clinic, a 6-week wait time. Right. And it's like, they have no idea what they're referring. Like, great, like, you're not going to hurt yourself or harm yourself. Great. But like, there's more to life than just being alive, So it was awful. So it's awful. So again, I'm exhausted. I just put my family through like a whirlwind, and I have to take my health in my own hand and find my own psychologist. And so with help, I found someone. It was a bit of a wait list. But it was through connections, and it's sad that through connections you have to find a psychologist. And although she was helpful, and I probably saw her for maybe 6 months, once a week is nothing. 1 hour once a week, it's not enough. It wasn't helpful. My daughter wasn't doing well last November as well from everything that was going on with me. It was spiraling in the house. It was toxic. I was just a mess. I wanted to disappear again. And there was no way I was going back to that hospital because they didn't help me. I was just sitting there doing nothing. Like, it was an awful, awful feeling being there for me. they wanted to take my running shoes. I can't walk without my running shoes because they are worried about the laces. I'd harm myself, and I had to convince them, no, I need those running shoes. I can't walk like the other patients. It's different.
Oh,
It was an awful feeling, which I will not forget. So I did my own research. I was so bad, and I was like, I need to get help, and I needed to remove myself from the house in order to get better. Going to an outpatient program for 6 hours, I'd be exhausted, the travel, and come back at night to the chaos of, bedtime with 3 kids. It was not realistic. So I decided to admit myself into a 6-week program in Guelph.
good for you.
So it happened really, really fast. And I was nervous because, one, it was really expensive. And there's guilt in that one, I have the luxury of just being able to go. And there was worry if it wasn't going to help and I spent all this money. So I do live with a lot of guilt. I am working on that with my counselor because guilt really isn't the primary emotion, as you know, and there's more underlying to that. And it doesn't have a lot of purpose in the guilt. So I've learned to not bring that on myself.
Yes. I want to just say something about that because it's really important. Is the difference between guilt and shame. Have you learned that?
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
And what you were describing a lot when you were saying feeling like a burden on people. And,
Mm-hmm.
that to me, I could really connect with the shame in that.
Of course, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you've learned how to even shift it into guilt. And then the next step is learning how to shift it, even into something else. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really amazing. It's really amazing. So what did you learn there?
I learned a lot. I have a massive binder, which I don't even go back to because I do see the psychologist regularly, and it's really ingrained in my head, a lot of the things, and it's theoretical. But as a 6-week program, there's group classes. It's a time, there were only 6 to 9 people in this home. So it's very one-on-one. So you have a lot of one-on-one, and there's so many people, so many healthcare professionals. I just woke up there. The old Shelby came back. I love to learn. My mind luckily works well. And I embraced myself in there, but you have to want to get better. I didn't know how bad I was before when even Daryl was saying, no, you need help. And help with what? What are people going to help me with? I had lost so much faith in the medical world. So it was a 6-week program, but the amount of work that I had covered, they said it was like being in the hospital for about 4 months.
Wow.
So it's a lot of material. They do the cognitive behavioral therapy. And then I was exposed to dialectical DBT behavior therapy, which I wasn't aware of. And that was very eye-opening and made sense to me, talking about acceptance of my illness and change, and I've learned to pivot. I've learned to pivot different ways of how to function and how to function to be happy. Daryl tells people he's never seen me so happy. I have books everywhere, podcasts galore. I always want to learn different things. I was doing an art class recently. I was supposed to go horseback riding next week till they closed down at this place for disabilities. So it was eye-opening. And again, I did become friends with the healthcare professionals because I guess I relate. I was a healthcare professional as well, being a dietitian. And the OTs, I've never been I felt safe. These healthcare professionals, I still sometimes I sent them my story. They cried when I left. The chef there, because I'm a dietitian, we meal plan for people because they didn't want to eat these heavy meals anymore. And everyone was like, I just want to eat with Shelby. So the old Shelby came back, and I went back to also my nutrition because I felt like being a dietitian had been ripped away from me. So, but I really am still a dietitian, although I wasn't practicing. So it was just it was great being in the home because I was exhausted at night. And then although I felt terribly, I did feel guilty about leaving these kids. 6 weeks seems like eternity, but it's really not. And I saw them on the weekends, and we had great weekends. Like, that was great about the program. They let you integrate in the weekend to see, like, if you're learning, what you're learning is helping. And it was like, especially before COVID, it was right before COVID, I was there, and we would go out to hockey games, and I never would have managed. But you know what? Cause I was always worried about how am I going to get through the game? But you know what? We'll stay as long as we can. I had a different mentality. My kids thought it was like almost like a little holiday for us because we had never done so much on the weekends. So
Wow.
it was a great program. And of course, I would recommend it if someone is really not doing well, but they need to want to be there. Because there are some people that were there that didn't attend the programs, and you're not going to get anything out of that. So you need to put the work in. No one's going to fix you. No one's going to bring you happiness. I used to look to Daryl like, is there somewhere I can work in your business right now? Because I can't work as a dietitian. Daryl's like, but I wasn't interested in that. So you can't like make people, other people cannot bring you happiness. And that's really the truth in it all.
Let's just pause there for a second. That's so powerful. And it's so true. And look at the journey you went on to find that out, and how that's going to truly transform the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it changed my life, and it could have gone in not a good way. So it was, because I almost didn't go to the home, but my brother was like, I remember calling him, he's like, Shelby, you can always leave, whereas the hospital, you couldn't leave. So that kind of I had that in the back of my head.
Wow. Wow. What a beautiful story of hope, Shelby, honestly, of hope and hard work and transformation and acceptance, like you said, and how not processing our emotions doesn't work. It will end up building up. It will end up building up. So we might as well learn how to work through it day to day.
Correct. Just people don't know the emotions. That's the thing. They gave us a list every day. They showed us a list at first. How are you feeling today? You can't say you're tired. You have to express. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen so many adjectives in my life. So people don't know. People don't know. It's a whole other language. And then you need to know that people are in your corner. You can't do it by yourself. And I had never had people, in terms of healthcare professionals, in my corner really understanding what I was going through, seeing me day to day. They didn't realize even they didn't understand how much pain I was in until you saw me at the end of the day, and they were just wanting to give me medicine, anything. And I'm just like, no, there's nothing that's going to help the pain. I just need to lie down right now. So it's hard. It's hard, but it was great to have people in my corner, to know that there's people out there that care and understand. They were so versed. It was like an OT who was trained in mental health. I've never met so many people. The recreation, so many things I didn't even know, like an art therapist and a recreational therapist trying to find me. They didn't tell me what to do or what to explore. They guess guided you, and you had to find the work. I was always on the internet at night trying to figure out, what do I want to do when I get out of here?
Yeah. Wow. So I have some questions for you. I don't want you to think too hard about them. I just want you to answer them. Okay. Because they're slightly challenging, but I really want to know. If you could give people with chronic illness that are likely listening to this and can so resonate, and maybe are not where you are now, but are where you were before, one piece of advice, what would it be?
One piece of advice would be to talk to someone. Doesn't have to be a healthcare professional. It can be anyone. There can be virtual support groups. It can be a friend. It can be a family member. And ideally someone who is just going to listen. Maybe you just have to ask them just to listen, and not to give what we're quick to give advice and fix things and judgment. I know who to call when I'm not feeling well. It's not the people that are going to quick to try to fix something, because I'm not fixable. We know that. We know my illness is not fixable. You just kind of live with it the best you can, but non-judgmental. Empathy, it's huge. And there's very few people who are gifted in that, but you got to start somewhere. The people have to hear your voice.
Beautiful. Empathy's a practice, I believe. Like it's something that I've learned is not innate. in humans,
Yeah.
something we actually have to consciously practice. And it's a skill.
Yeah, and I'm learning it 100%, but I know the first person I would call if I need that.
Yeah, so beautiful. So your advice is to people with chronic illness who are suffering maybe where you were, would be to get support, talk it out, find someone to express yourself. Okay. What is the best advice you got from a mentor in those 6 weeks? Like, what was one of the biggest aha moments you had?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I'd have to think back. So much has happened in the last 6, 7 months. It was probably the OT. Like I thought, well, I had the biggest connection with the OT. She always thought I could have been an OT, like meaning like an OT for people that aren't, where it's to help you with the daily life of functionality of all the things that I had put in my place in my house, like handlebars to get into the one step up into my house. So making it functional so I can function in my daily life. She was really like, there's so much more to you, Shelby. I had brought so much guilt onto me and lack of identity. But when I talked to, and I thought I did nothing all day. And when I told her all the things that I technically did, it was like a wake up call of, there's so much you can do. And I told her I wanted to possibly start a business or be involved in something, but all nutrition related. And she's just like, she just woke me up. Like, there's so much still more to you than just your illness. And although it was drowning other people in my family, it wasn't I guess my fault. I brought it all myself, that it was my fault. Although obviously when you're not well, it's usually because of, it is not your fault. There's lack of control. But I also don't want to always relate. I can't come because it's my illness. I don't like having a lot of excuses. I'm hard on myself. We're always hard on ourselves.
Yeah. But it sounds like you've learned so much about how to be kinder and how to be more self-compassionate and how to be more accepting. It's such a massive part of healing.
100%. Like if I have a setback when I have a subluxation, like I could not walk for technically a couple of weeks, but I think the fact that sometimes when I have these now setbacks, I don't worry as much of how bad it's going to be. How am I going to function? Daryl, my husband's going to have to do more stuff around the house. I think the lack of worrying, the mind is powerful. I tried to train my mind like
the lack of worrying what? Finish that. The lack of worrying what? What does it equate to?
The lack of worrying, I'm not getting as bad. These injuries aren't lasting as long. So I am stronger too. I have been working out a lot more, like gentle workouts, but it's a big deal. It's interesting. Your mind is powerful. And over the years, I would say, like, Shelby, you didn't really just hurt yourself. And I tried, but it wasn't. But the worrying and the anxiety, luckily I don't have a lot of anxiety, but the worry, it's a big deal. So yeah. It's not there as much. And what's the worst going to happen? And so I sit on the couch and my kids, they cook. I teach them. I show them. They know how. So it's okay. It's okay if I'm not well. And now it's okay because I have other things to do while I'm lying on the couch, not just sitting there like a vegetable.
Right. Okay, my last question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel that gaining this mental wellness has done to your overall physical health? We already touched on it a bit, but I want to understand how, going through this journey that you went, spending 6 weeks processing your emotions, learning about your emotions, all the stuff that got you to where you are today, how has that impacted your physical health?
The physical health, so it's impacted basically on my overall energy. So like I wasn't as excited to get up in the morning. I'd want to sleep a little bit longer because I do need a lot more sleep than the average person because the pain exhausts you. So I do need more sleep. So there is acceptance in that with Daryl. Like I'm not up doing the breakfast in the morning with the kids. They make their own. They're so independent, which is great. And that's a lot from me being unwell and also from my husband grooming them. So not having guilt in that I can sleep a little bit longer to get up. I do a meditation on this wellness coach app, which is great. I'm all about short things and efficiency. So I enjoy my coffee. Like Leah's like, why don't you drink that with us? And I'm like, no, I want to do that in peace. And it's probably my favorite part of the day. And so it gives me energy. And then I try, as long as I'm feeling okay, I go into a pool. I do the pool and the Pilates on this reformer strength machine has given me so much strength. And I guess being an athlete though has helped because I have the discipline to do these things on my own. And I know how, because I've worked so long with different therapists over the years. Since with COVID, I just do it on my own. And so I love it. So even if I can only do a half an hour, it's enough because I do it now more frequently. So it's helped to keep like my muscles stronger. Yes, I'm not going to change my body immensely. Like I tried to do a little bit more in the pool the other day and it was like, no, I can't do jumping jacks and all that. I pay for it. Yeah. But it helps. It helps the physicality that I feel have more energy. But there's definitely days where no, I can't do exercise. But I watch a lot of different people on Instagram and there's one person who has my illness and she shows us like if you could just sit in the chair and like put your heel down and like there's so many different ways that you can move, like raising my arms, like there's so many ways you can move even when you can't really move. Yeah. So I always try to do something to keep my body going, and I think it has helped with my core and a little bit of my neck pain and jaw. It's not going to go away completely, but it helps.
Yeah, for sure. All right, any last pieces of advice you want to share before we finish up? And where can people find you if they want to connect with you or reach out to you? Because there might be some people who do. How can they connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, my name as is, Shelby Firsten, and as well on Instagram. I am going to be starting totally different for mental health, but I'm in the process of getting a blog together, and it's going to be Shelby Lara, nutritionist, and it's really going to be about how I've kept control with my nutrition and wellness, and we always have healthy meals in this house, but everything, and it's beautiful. My kids think everything is the best because it looks so nice how I present, and everything is made in under 20 minutes. And so it's so simple. So that's going to be my big thing. So I will share that with you. I will be launching that in January. So that's been a big project that I've been working on, which I'm always excited about. Amazing. Food. I love food. I love healthy food.
It's so nice, Shelbs, to see your spark. You know, there's so much that you shared in this interview, and one of the things that was really illuminated to me was you finding yourself again, you finding you had purpose, you out of that shame of like I'm a burden into no, like I'm worthy, I'm enough, I have purpose, I can do this. And that's really profound because, you know, it's a journey that I think so many people need to take
100%.
On a high level or on a low level, like on people who are suffering. But even I think every day people suffer with shame and not feeling enough and not feeling like a burden. And so it's really beautiful to see you in this place. And thank you for taking time out of your day to come and share with us.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree with totally that people have to think about what they are doing in the day or what they're doing overall or their goals. Because I thought I was bringing my family down, and my kids, I can't drive them around to do select hockey and whatnot because it wasn't going to be realistic. But they don't really want to do that, to be honest with you, a lot of the kids. But so they're just happy to be with you. So when I help my son with his homework, I'm on the couch, but they're just happy that you're present and you're so invested in their lives. And they love to see now that I'm like, my daughter's like, what do you read? I've never seen you read so much. It's hilarious. So they like to see that if I'm happier, they're happier. And the other big thing, as you know, is self-care, giving myself time. Sorry, Leah, I can't make it to that tonight with you. I need to do this to have more energy with you tomorrow. So self-care is so important so you can show up to be your best self for others.
Yeah. So. Yes. I love it. Thank you so much, Shelbs. Thanks, so grateful. Jody. And we will share your new blog with everyone and your Facebook and maybe even that article. And we'll talk to you really soon. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Jody.